Good day. It's early Tuesday morning. I left the house about 6:30. It still took me about 20 minutes to get down here because I bumped into 3 sets of people. And then when I got here, my new plot neighbours here, who are sort of moving from their half plot here to their full plot here, she's here, so we've had a chat, which is absolutely lovely. And I now know that one of my other plot neighbours over there, who has a half plot, is now taking over their half plot as well, so that lady will have a full plot. So basically I'm surrounded by people that I have known for a long time, apart from next door here, where a new tenant came in from the paddock last year. So yeah, isn't that nice? And I'm down here first thing because it's not going to be as warm as it has been over the next couple of days, but it's still quite warm. And my plot neighbour, sort of 1-2 away that way, 1-2 away that way, she's been opening my greenhouse in the morning on some days and closing up, and I've been doing the same on other days. Obviously not the same day, that would be stupid. So it was my turn today to open up, so I've opened up her greenhouse and opened up mine. And her plot is absolutely gorgeous. She has lots of flowers. She does grow tomatoes and other vegetables as well, but it's mainly flowers, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Always is. Yeah, she's quite a plants woman. She's great. And I've been looking at my garlic, and if I can get down here for an hour or so later on, I'm going to be taking it out. I was looking at it with you last week on camera, and it was looking fine, and I was saying what Hardneck's variety do is they form a scape, which you let them form the scape, which is the flower bud basically, and then the scape goes a full circle, turns back on itself, and that's the time to harvest. However, in the last week, ours have just become completely inundated with rust, which isn't really going to do them a lot of harm. But you know what, we've got rain coming tomorrow, Wednesday. We've got further rain on Thursday. We're being told that the downpours could be quite extensive, and they're looking now the worse for wear. So I'm gonna take them out. I think that will most probably be the earliest I've ever taken my garlic out, but I would rather take it out now when the bulb is drying, than allow it to get really wet on potentially tomorrow and Thursday. I won't be able to take it out until the weekend, so then it will sit in the ground sort of wet. So yeah, I'm going to take it out today if I can find time. I think, you know what, I have to find time. You know, that's the thing with allotmenteering and growing and gardening. We need to find time. We really do. It's like having another child. Oh, there's a little wren. A wren just landed on the greenhouse. You know how tiny they are. They're really tiny. They're smaller than the golf ball. Oh, and I can see a snail on the outside of the greenhouse as well. I wish that snail is virtually as big as the wren was. Oh, and there's a seagull going over. Yes, you know, we need to find time. I've always said to people when they have been taking on a plot, whether it be a sort of small plot of the community gardens or the 18 square metre plots that we've got in the paddock, or a larger plot here, you know, it's like having a child. You have to give time over to the allotment. You have to make time for the allotment, or make time for your growing space or garden. You know, otherwise it will go sort of, you know, wild. And we can see, you know, behind me and how me us thinking we were moving and me maybe not being in the headspace last year to keep on top of the plot and not having the time to keep on top of the plot, how much grass has grown, you know, and it's going to take me a whole year of management to get back to a place where this plot isn't overgrown. I mean, even the stinging nettles over there. I love stinging nettles, they're fabulous, but there's too many. There's just too many. So, yeah, you know, work to do. But look, let me just show you the garlic, because, yeah, if your garlic's looking like this and you've got wet weather coming, or if your garlic in a few weeks might be looking like this and there's wet weather coming, have a think about taking it out. You know, we have a propensity here for white rot, and I'm not sure if I did mention when I planted it out, but I did say that if we got significant white rot this year, or in my head I said if we got significant white rot this year, I wouldn't do garlic again, which would be a real shame. But yeah, I thought I would be harvesting the ones in troughs here first, but no, it'll be those. Let's have a look. Here we are. They're really looking quite the worse for wear. This is rust, the sort of yellow on there. You see, that's rust. And we have a propensity for rust on site as well. And I just think, because I said to you last week that what I'd do is I'd wait for these scapes, the seed heads, to grow and do a full circle like this one has done here. That's almost a full circle, before I harvest. But yeah, I'm not going to do that. With rain coming, I'd rather take these out. Yeah, I really would. So that's what I'm going to do later on, and hopefully we'll hopefully if it doesn't rain today, which I think we might have a few very light showers but not heavy rain, you'll see me do that a bit later. Fingers crossed. Well, I'm back at the plot, and it's fair to say that the rain didn't hold off till tomorrow. It started about 1 o'clock and it's been constant since. So all my thoughts about getting the garlic out whilst they were dry is, yeah, it's all gone to the wall really. But you know what, I'm still going to get them out because there's this rain now which is much heavier than the showers I expected. And then looking at tomorrow, it's really heavy rain tomorrow. So I think the garlic are better just out. So yeah, I'm going to get my hand fork, pop it underneath, well underneath the garlic bulb, and then lever them out. Yeah. I am now pretty drenched, even though I had a waterproof on, though I'm not sure that waterproof actually works anyway. I seem to always get wet even if I'm wearing it. But we have, thankfully rather, we have our garlic harvesting. Most are this size, so not the biggest. There's a couple of sort of larger ones there, but you know what, of all the ones I pulled, there's only 2 with white rot. You see the white rot here and here, and I know people say it doesn't really work that quickly, but I reckon if I'd left that for another, well, over the weekend, I think it would have caught on to some of these. I find it travels through the ground relatively swiftly. There's lots of rust, as you can see. I mean, you know, we looked at that this morning and said, you know, the yellowing on most of this is down to rust, and there's a few slugs. But you know what, I'm pretty pleased with this harvest. I am going to think what I'm going to do actually is take the top off each of them and then feed as many through these slats as possible, just so they dry off. And I'm going to put those, there for the minute. They can go into our green waste at home. But yeah, I think I'm going to process these a little bit. Well, here they all are. I think there's 54 here, and as you can see, that's the smallest little one, and I guess that one is one of the biggest, or that one at the back over there is one of the biggest. So yeah, what I've done is I've left stalk on, because you want the stalk to dry and seal up the neck here, so it dries from the bottom and seals the neck. And I've cut the roots back simply because with the weather being damp, I want it to have as much chance as drying as swiftly as possible. If I was doing this and the weather was perfectly dry, I wouldn't be cutting the roots back at the moment, and I wouldn't be cutting the stalk back. But with such a density of rust on the leaves, which have come off here, so these are the roots, these are the leaves, I thought best to cut them back now. As you can see them all hanging there. Cut them back now, and that will give them a better chance of drying off and not being infected. But you know what? Apart from being drenched, I'm pretty happy with that harvest. Little did I know when I was down this morning and I was talking about harvesting the garlic before the rain set in tomorrow and on Thursday, that I would be harvesting garlic in the pissing rain, because that is what it's doing now. But you know what? That is, I think, the best ever garlic harvest we've had. I can't remember what variety of garlic it was. I'll put it down below. I like doing the hardneck garlic, as I've said before, because you get the scapes. So these are the scapes, and where there are scapes I've cut them off. There's some rust on some of the leaves here, and I will take that off and not use that. But you know, I will be using that bit I mean, garlic skate pesto is absolutely delicious. It's worth growing. I mean, in France, you go to markets in France and they have, you know, huge mounds of scapes in markets for people to take. Yeah, maybe our climate is a little bit different. Oh, but yeah, I'm pleased with that garlic harvest, and I think I know I have done the right thing, you know, by harvesting it early with the white rot on those two, which could quite easily infect the others in a short space of time. I know I have done the right thing today, despite being a bit drenched. Would I, if I hadn't seen they had really gone over at the weekend, I wouldn't have been harvesting them this week. I'd have been leaving them for maybe another fortnight. In many cases, you know, it's a good idea that we plant garlic before, like in October in the UK, and then harvest around mid-June to June, the longest, you know, the longest day, maybe what's that, 21st 22nd of June. But yeah, certainly I have done the right thing, and I knew I had done the right thing as soon as I started pulling up the bulbs, or levering up the bulbs, because I was going from one to the other and there was no white rot. And then just at the edge where the oregano or marjoram, I'm not sure which it is, overshadows some of them, that's where white rot was beginning to set in on those two. And I don't have the hop bin composter up and running. If I did, I would be putting all these leaves, even with their rust on, into our hop bin composter, because that would get rid of all the pathogens, because it reaches such a high heat, like 120 degrees, 140 degrees Fahrenheit, that you know, it kills all of that off. But with these and the two that have got white rot, I'm going to be putting those into our municipal green waste collection. So our green bin will smell of garlic for a little while. Yeah, well, at least until next Monday. But look, yeah, job done, and I'm pleased to have got it done. And that rain it's definitely set in for today. Richard said, well, I was looking at 10 o'clock, I was looking on the BBC weather app, and there was no rain forecast for our area for Tuesday. Maybe a little around 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the evening, which is why I was thinking at sort of 10, 11 o'clock when I was at my desk looking at the weather, I will do that harvest this afternoon. And then at 1 o'clock it just started raining, and it really hasn't stopped, and it's just got heavier actually. But when Richard came home, he said, didn't you download the update for the Met weather app, because I use that on my phone? And I said I didn't see anything, and apparently he got an email opting him in, if he wished, to new data or something. It's obviously a Meta trial or something like that. So he's opted in, and I had a look at my Met Office app, and it didn't offer me the opportunity to get new data. So hey ho, he's got new data and I haven't. Maybe I'll just need to ask him each morning what the weather is going to do today, or on that day. We know what it's doing today. It's chucking down. But yeah, happy with that harvest garlic. And as I say, if it was dry, I wouldn't be cutting the roots back in this way that I've done straight away today. Or if there wasn't so much rust and they were wet, I wouldn't be cutting the stalk off. I'm doing that simply because A, they're wet, B, I don't want white rot to develop, and C, the rust needs to go away from the plot. So yeah. And I leave the poly door open at this time of year because it's so warm and sunny. So there is airflow. So you know, those should dry out quite well. I would expect that tomorrow when I come down, despite the air being moist, I would have thought certainly by the end of the week though most of those roots will have dried up a bit. I did actually look, I did clean one up so that you could see. This is how many allotmenteers show their garlic, all clean and wonderful. It's best not to do that. It's best to keep them dirty at this moment and let them dry and then take the paper off. But I can feel there that cloves have developed, so that's great. And if cloves haven't developed, I mean, in this little one, you know, in this one here, it's a single bulb, there is no cloves. You can always chop it up and then freeze it, or use the whole thing. I mean, you know, that for when somebody says, you know, use a garlic clove, for me you use like 3 or 4 for every time a British recipe says use a garlic clove. So that would just be one, you know, to me that's really just a clove of garlic. So yeah, anyway, there we are. That's my Tuesday. Will I be down here tomorrow? Most probably. Will I be doing something? Not if it's wet. Oh, I do need to check a fellow. I'll talk about that later in the week. See you very soon. I smell of garlic. No vampires around me. Bye. Good day. Yes, I've got Georgie here. Oh, it says it's lovely. Oh, it's lovely. Oh, it's lovely, it says. Oh, I love being played with, it says. I love being played with. Oh, it says that's nice. Oh, it says that's nice. Oh, he's such a cutie. Such an absolute cutie. Apart from when he does his poos in the beds. Yes, yes. They're not quite so beauty. No. A little bit pongy sometimes. Oh, he says, I'll just wash my bits. I'll just wash my bits. Oh. So, I haven't been down for a few days. And what I have noticed is that some of our carrots have been munched. And quite a few of the chicory that we put in have been munched. And unusually, because I think it's been so wet, and if this is creaking, apologies because I haven't taken the cover off. Yeah, look, the chicory's been eaten down. Look. Oh. But unusually, the broad beans, which I was going to be picking today, they've been munched as well. Oh. There are ladybirds around, as you can see. There's 2 or 3 or 4 on there. But I think it's time to get these out. They're not going to be producing much. Hey ho. But yeah, look, there's loads of ladybirds. Oh, and there's a couple mating in there as well. Oh. Back with our garlic, and as anticipated, the roots have really sort of dried quite well, and the sort of paper, as I call it, around the bulb has started drying. But I'm really pleased that I got these out the other day. It was the right thing to do. Oh, I thought that was a bit of allium leaf miner, but it's not. Yeah, it was definitely the right thing to do. We've had a lot of rain. In fact, outside the trays are sitting in about 2 inches of water. So the right thing done. Down here, we've got our radish. Oh, sorry, banging you on the chair leg. and it seems to be doing what my radish normally does. It's not bulking up. I don't understand what I do wrong with radish. If you look there, you can see that, well, maybe the stalks, it's just not bulking up. I don't understand it. Every time I grow radish, this is what happens. I get lots of leaf. I get a few which bulk out on the root, but most don't. What am I doing wrong? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Yes, I just don't know. I mean, will they bulk up? I've often found they haven't, and I found that they've gone to seed before they've started bulking up in the root. Radish seem to continue to be my bête noire. They really do. I've noticed the tomatoes have put on a little bit of growth in the greenhouse. They'll be going out, I think, this weekend. I sort of am already at the point where I think it's going to be a challenging year in terms of harvests. I'm wary about putting our cucumbers out. I mean, I think I'm going to put them outside on a bench, let them grow on outside for a while. But yeah, I think our garlic harvest might be our best harvest this year. I do now think that the compost that we had has some type of pathogen or weed killer in it, which has inhibited growth. There's quite a few people on the plot who have been saying about how slow things have grown this year and how slowly things continue to grow. I don't know. I've got a feeling there's something in the compost that's inhibiting growth. I mean, those tomatoes would normally be at least a foot tall at the moment, and they're maybe sort of 5 inches and have grown so little. I mean, we have had cold nights, you know, I've talked about that, but just generally the growth I'm seeing, even in the modular-sown beetroot, what I'm noticing is that they're not really putting on any growth. The chard, which we just saw, I assume we saw in the back of when I was looking at the chicory, that seems to have started growing outside now. So I'm hoping that when things are put out, as long as they're not eaten by slugs or snails, they are going to get away. But who knows? We've got quite a busy weekend. We've got a visitor this weekend, so I'm hoping to get down here and do a few things, maybe sow some beans, get the modular-sown beetroot in. But we've got more rain coming over the weekend, and I'm worried about putting the modular-sown beetroot out and then being eaten by slugs. But you know what? I've got to do it because they need to go in, and if they get eaten, they get eaten. I'll just have to deal with it. But I mean, there's so many articles that I've seen recently in British newspapers about how slugs and snails are really ravaging crops this year for us amateur growers, and in some cases sort of much more professional growers as well. I don't mean commercial growers, I mean sort of more professional growers. And it's just one of those things I think we've got to put up with. I think getting that eco balance right between wildlife and our own needs on the plot, I haven't got that quite right yet. But hey ho, there we are. And I was talking to a fellow plotter here who is right down the bottom, and he has had all of his brassicas eaten by ants. How? Why? But he has seen them eaten by ants, both the roots and the tops. I mean, you know, and it's not a matter, I mean, he is you know, I think he's been on his plot here about definitely 3 decades, going on to 4 decades, and knows his stuff, you know, and he's also a trained plantsman. I'm not sure whether he's a botanist or not. I should ask. But yeah, you know, he knows his stuff, and he very often puts in, you know, his Jersey Royals really early, or international kidney as they're called, and you know, does really well. But this year he's really struggling, and so many others are. Yeah, I look at some people, I mean, the garlic of a new plotter, well, not new, they've been here a long time, but they've got a second plot which they've had since June last year. Their garlic, it looks like elephant garlic. It's the stalks and the bulbs are so big, it looks like elephant garlic, and it's not. But yeah, I guess we're, you know, we have to just sort of accept what we've got, really. And I'm accepting this space. I'm accepting this space as a place of mindfulness and balance for me, mentally and physically. Though I have to say the physically part doesn't work too well, because when I've done work on the plot here, like pulling out that garlic the other day, I think I twinged my back a bit. I know my foot got away from me at one point. I was like jarred, and yeah, yesterday I was at For Earth's Sake, and every time I got up from the chair or sat down on the chair, I was, I can't go on. However, I did drive down there for an hour and a half and drive back for an hour. Really quick driving day yesterday down to For Earth's Sake, so that was good. Anyway, there we are. I wasn't going to do a video today at all. I was just coming down to do a bit of watering to check on the garlic. But hey ho, you've got a bit of me and my growing beard. So yeah, you'll just have to put up with it. Or not watch, of course. You can just decide not to watch and turn off. Oh dear. Anyway, yeah, don't think this is a very helpful segment. However, I've done it, and you've seen Georgie. Georgie's becoming really quite, not clingy, he's not clingy at all, but he's becoming really sort of like around your feet now, and I think he likes being on camera. Maybe that's it. Maybe he's a poser. Maybe he's a poser. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go. See you soon. Bye. Good day. With the slugs having eaten so many of the chard, I decided I'd get the beetroot in here. So that's what I've done. So the broad beans that were in here have come out, and I've just put them here for the moment to make sure these will go into our general compost bin at the end of the day. But I just want to make sure that any ladybirds, because there's quite a few, you can see one there, any ladybirds actually come off the stalks and the leaves of the broad beans. And I've got a very small harvest from this lot. You can see here how, you know, slugs have got into there. I've never known that to this extent before. And yeah, I think there's going to have to be a judicial use of organic slug pellets here, because you know, talking about balance the other day, I don't like using any slug pellets, but I also don't like having all of our crops or even all of our seedlings eaten. So yeah, judicious use, that's what it's going to be. Yeah, but look, I've got the beetroot in. They were modular-sown, several in each module, and I basically made a hole with my fork, my hand fork, which is here, just grubbed up the soil a little bit, and then planted the module of compost, with the seedlings into the hole and firm them in. They haven't had a water yet, but before I go they will be getting a good watering. Yes, so those beetroot are in, which is grand, and as I say, I will give them a water before I go, and a judicious sprinkling later of organic slug pellet, and I do mean judicious. You know, do not cover a bed in those blue granules, because you're not only harming wildlife, even if they're organic, but you know, it's not really going to do any good to your soil or the worms in your soil. So be judicious if you use them. I'm really glad to have got the garlic harvest up. That was the right thing to do. I absolutely know that. I've looked at them again this morning and they're drying really nicely. And of course we do have the warmer weather, and because they're in the poly and there's airflow, they're drying really nicely. So I'm pleased about that. If you've got any thoughts on the radish and you know what I am doing wrong with the radish, please let me know, because I never seem to be able to grow radish to fruition, you know, to the bulb that we want to eat. And we eat radish sort of really regularly. I did grow a black radish once. It had a black, it was long, you know, it's like a daikon. Was it a daikon? Like a Japanese radish, more like a horseradish, and they grew really well. So maybe I should try those, but they are more of the horseradish than a sort of peppery radish. They're hot rather than peppery. But yeah, I might give those a go at some point. I think Jane Kelly sent those seeds to me. I might still have some. But yeah, any tips or tricks or comments on the radish, please do let me know. Yeah, we do have a guest coming who's staying overnight. We might see that guest next week on next week's A Week at the Plot, because I'm finishing it off here. So we might do a bit of time travel next week and just come back. But we got a long weekend in the UK. It's our end of May bank holiday, so Monday is a bank holiday here. So I hope that despite having a guest over, I'll be able to get down on at least one day for maybe a solid 4 or 5 hours, because I need to do weeding to keep on top of the weeding in the areas that I've said I need to keep on top of. I've still got a couple of beds that I need to prep as well. So there's work to do. Anyway, I'm going to go. I hope whatever is happening in your garden, your growing space or your allotment, it's going well. And if you're growing radish, you're having more success than I am. And as I say, any comments, any thoughts, any questions, any tips, any tricks, anything, in fact, including bananas, just leave a comment below. Thanks very much for watching. We really do appreciate it. And I really do appreciate you watching A Week at the Plot. It's an interesting one, because it is, you know, oh, anyway, I'm going to start rambling. No, I'm not going to start rambling. I'm going to go home. See you again next week on YouTube for another full upload of A Week at the Plot if you watch on YouTube. And I'll see you on Planet Vegetaria through the week for individual segments if you're on Planet Vegetaria. And I hope whatever happens, you have a good week next week. See you soon. Happy growing. Bye.